Oh, Ayo! Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast. Steven, I was really waiting for the music. I was really waiting for, the whole, I forgot we're remote. Presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today and use promo code CHGO. When you sign up, it's a remote version of the CHGO White Sox pregame show.
Sounds like Andrew Vaughn is not the only person who needs a day off after just one game of the season, Sean.
That was one hell of a party we had yesterday in Oak Lawn. That was a blast. I was thrown off. We were supposed to be in studio for the first game, and then the heavens opened up.
Jesus,
Lord, it turned green. The sky.
It still looks ominous out there.
Spooky. Yeah, very weird. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. You can follow the show on Twitter at CHGO_White Sox. That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. He's got a brand new post up at allchgo.com. If you missed Dylan Cease masterclass last night, Vinnie has the write-up on Dylan. I was going to call you Dylan. It's not your name. That's Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I feel like it was Dylan named after Bob Dylan. I mean, he's now a poet. They put out the O Slider Slide production video. Is that Dylan narrating it?
I can't imagine it is. It doesn't sound anything like him. But now I'm kind of interested in finding out who it might be, if there is some sort of White Sox employee behind the microphone, or if they just hired somebody to do it themselves, to do a more professional job.
And is that the reason why he cut his mustache off?
I don't know.
Just to do
I think he just didn't have it during the offseason for the longest time.
He probably
has fresh.
He probably has you guys met my grandmother. She's a very nice lady, but she's also very particular. Yeah, Anne. Yeah. Every time I see her, she's like, "Now I would love to see if you just cleaned up your face. Now if you just cut your beard off." So maybe just Dylan Cease has a grandmother that's particular about him not having facial hair. Maybe she didn't like the mustache, and usually grandmas win. We have a White Sox game to talk about. I'm feeling particularly optimistic tonight. White Sox are 1-0 after the 3-2 victory yesterday. Herb, how you feeling after the 3-2 victory and the fun time that we had at the whistle?
First, the whistle. I mean, all the people that came out. I mean, some people are in the comments right now talking about hangovers and such, a baloney and Bruhan Luke and such. Great time by the people out there at Whistle Sports. I mean, it was awesome atmosphere, and like when the White Sox came back and then Andrew Vaughn double, place was electric. And then just the team, the White Sox are, after one game, you would put your head down last year after that 1-0 Houston Astros take the lead on a wild pitch because the game's over. And or when you're up 3-1 and you see that rocket shot by Jordan Alvarez, you're like, all right, here we go. He's going to blow it. He's never really been a closer in his life before, talking about Ronaldo Lopez, but he just throwing 100 miles per hour past people and then finishing off with a filthy slider to end the game. So I'm feeling very optimistic about this team and the performance they had last night. Like I said, all last night, they were dominating Houston Astros all night long, whether it was on defense or on offense, but the scoreboard wasn't reflecting it all the time. Now I get to see today if Lance Lynn can shake this bugaboo that he's had against the Houston Astros, because last night Dylan Cease did.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game for the White Sox to come out and win their season opener. Obviously, Dylan Cease, I think, was the story of the night. You look around the American League, a lot of nice pitching performances last night from the guys that you would expect. Garrett Cole was awesome against the Giants, and then you had Shohei Ohtani being Shohei Ohtani against the A's. Of course, the Angels lost that game, but
of course.
10 strikeouts for Ohtani, 10 strikeouts for Cease, 11 for Cole. You might have looked at my headline today and be like, oh, boy, Cy Young favorite. What? Already? Why? I mean, we've got these other guys kind of doing work too. Dylan Cease was the only one of the three that didn't walk anybody. And that is saying something, considering
that's crazy.
He led baseball in that category last year. So I think Cease was the story. I think the offense, obviously it's just one game, so we'll withhold judgment for a while here. But like we said last night, looked a lot very reminiscent of last year, I think, for much of that game. But they got the clutch hits they needed to win the game, and that's all that really matters. So we'll see what Lance Lynn can do tonight to follow up Cease's performance from yesterday.
Well, and one thing that obviously looked different yesterday was Pedro Grifol being in the dugout. We didn't talk a lot about this yesterday just because we really focused in on the game. But I do want to bring this up. The White Sox players and staff putting Pedro Grifol into a cart rolling him into the shower, turning on water, and then covering him with shaving cream. You have the picture here of Lucas Giolito carting him around. Nice to see the little camaraderie here. I didn't know this about this tradition. You guys probably did just because you've been covering baseball longer. But it's nice to see them getting Pedro all dirty and mucked up and celebrating the first victory for him.
There were a lot of firsts last night, so I bet there were multiple celebrations in that locker room. Obviously, Pedro being the big one, but first career save for Reynaldo Lopez and and then the first hit for Oscar Colas. So Pedro might not have been the only one getting doused with something in the post game yesterday, but it was funny seeing the reporters who were down there in Houston tweet out pictures of Pedro still all covered in shaving cream doing his regular
right.
Post game. So like, I'll be very introspective on what happened here, but please don't pay no attention to the fact that I'm covered in shaving cream. But yeah, listen, that's it was going to happen. Obviously, you're not going to go 0-162, but very nice for him that he's able to get off, start things off on a great note and get win one in game one.
Yeah, and it's good to have a guy who's been in baseball for 30 plus years still find enjoyment, and the players find enjoyment in him finding enjoyment of this game and getting his first victory as a major league manager against the reigning champions. I mean, he did, I think, for the most part, all the right moves. I might have disagreed with when he removed Dylan Cease, but again, first game of the year, and then also he had a rough inning, and I'm put those in quotes, giving up singles and hitting a batter. So I thought Pedro did well last night and did well-deserved beer shower. Looked like the baby powder and shaving cream there too. So yeah, I hope they got Oscar Colas nice and wet there too, because that hit he had, that was just as good as a home run, because he hit the hell out of that ball and almost killed Hector Neris back up the box. One of the best pitchers. I'll discuss him a little later in the show too.
He's getting rewarded with a lineup spot today. We'll talk about the White Sox lineup. Oscar Colas is in the lineup, and he'll be starting in right field. I do want to bring up two comments from Pedro in the post game. I got both of these from James Fegan, one from his piece in The Athletic, and then one from Twitter. This is about Pedro seeing his team, though, being 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position and just saying, trusting that they'll come through. Quote, "These guys are good hitters, and we were facing some pretty damn good pitching. The Astros are world champions out there. The last thing I want to do is overmanage. That's the last thing I want to do. These guys got to go out and play the game like they do. We're going to make adjustments. That's what we've got to coaches for. That's the reason we've got those iPads and communication out there in the dugout. The last thing I want to do there is start overmanaging and give away outs." And again, that's Pedro Grifol doused in shaving cream saying all of this. But I mean, it's interesting to see, no pressure. And we talked about this team pressing so much in 2022. No pressure, kind of just go after it, guys, and they come through in the clutch. I don't know if it's, I mean, it's one game, so it's probably tough to take a sample, but I don't know, just interesting to hear his kind of thoughts during his first game managing.
Well, I think we saw something that I wouldn't call it over managing, but we saw him doing some managing yesterday. And I think the thing that stood out to me was putting Oscar Colas in the game. I mean, I think the managers tend, and these are experienced ones and unexperienced ones alike, tend to have so much trust in their guys, as Pedro was talking about, that it's like, hey, when I'm going to put you out there, I have the belief that you're going to succeed in any situation that presents itself. I don't know if we see last year or in years past, Romy Gonzalez getting taken out of that game, because it's like, hey, Romy Gonzalez, you made the team because you're good, because I think you're good. And I think you can succeed against any kind of pitcher. But here it was, the matchup dictated, yoink, put Oscar Colas right in there. The same thing with, I think, Dylan Cease. I think there were a lot of complaints last year from the fans, and I don't know if the data necessarily backs this up, but about pitchers being left in the game, starting pitchers being left in the game too long. Dylan Cease was taken out, I think, at least Herb, you and I agreed. I don't know about you, Sean, maybe a little too early, but hey, it wasn't too late, I guess is kind of the idea. So we did see some managing from Pedro Grifol, and now we're seeing it again today with Andrew Vaughn taking a seat. Obviously that's, a little bit has to do with kind of the time he missed during spring training there, but you get Gavin Sheets in there. You were asking, why wasn't Andrew Benintendi batting third yesterday? Well, guess what? He's batting third today. So, he is doing that managing that he says he maybe doesn't want to do too much of, but listen, that's why he gets paid. And we talk so often about the players being the be all end all here, right? That everything's on them in the end. They're the ones taking the at bats and throwing the pitches. If there's not many spots for the manager to really impact the outcome of the game, Pedro's not afraid to take advantage of those spots coming in front of him.
And let's speak a little bit about what you're talking about, Vinny. Like, players are more results oriented. So if the thing works out, it's like, oh man, you made it the right move. And I'm not saying this process was wrong at all, but like if a player like Romy Gonzalez, like, oh man, you took me out, and then Oscar Colas gets a single, he's like, okay, I get it. And same thing with Dylan Cease. Oh God, you took me out. Then the guy gives up the run, but then we win the game because of the subsequent bullpen does the job, and then Andrew Vaughn comes through with a hit. So the player's like, hey man, this is the first game manager, and he's out here managing, and he won the game. So that result was good. So I'm gonna trust him a little bit more. I wouldn't doubt if these players had a little doubt for Pedro, not just the player. I mean, not just the manager, just for the position of manager after what they went through the last couple of years with Tony. I'm not saying that he was, really reckless with it, but I'm sure that 1-2 count to Trey Turner, there was some doubt sewed into the player's mind. Does Tony still got it, type of thing? And now with Pedro doing his first game, you're like, okay, these moves have worked out for the one game we've done, and a little bit more trust is built up. And, when I saw that lineup today, I was like, son of a bitch. But then I was like, you know what? Let's give this man a chance to actually manage a game. And he explained himself perfectly. And I'm sure Sean has the tweet. I saw you tweet out James Fegan's tweet, Vinny, a little earlier. And so he explained himself perfectly, and I understood it. And I didn't take offense to why he had this reason why Andrew Vaughn's not in the game today. So I'm going to give the guy a chance and not be as impulsive on the second game.
Yeah.
Fourth
Herb,
game, I'm pissed. I'm out.
I was going to say, for a second there, Herb, I wish you could spread that feeling to everybody that's commenting on all of my tweets already here. Game two, yeah. And it's already, oh my goodness, the lineup is a problem. But hey, what else did I expect, right?
As the Andrew Vaughn guy on the podcast, I don't care that he's not playing today. They're playing 5 straight games. So what, he's going to play 3 of 5? That's fine. What is Gavin Sheets doing on the team? Like, Gavin Sheets isn't a right fielder. They got Oscar Colas and Romy Gonzalez for that. Gavin Sheets platooning with Vaughn at first base, I think, makes sense. Vaughn plays 130 or whatever, 25 games, and Sheets get about 50 or 45 at first base. I think it makes sense.
I mean, I think the idea there is that Vaughn should be so capable against all kinds of pitchers that he doesn't need to be platooned, right? But I think Gavin Sheets is going to find those at bats all over the place. I think he's going to spell Andrew Vaughn at first base. He's going to spell Eloy Jimenez at DH. He's going to probably see some time in right field. Not a lot of it, maybe, but some. And I think that, him having that lefty power, we've talked about it. It's a valuable thing. And hey, you've got, if you're going to have a guy who you want to call on late in the game and say, hey, come off the bench and hit me an extra base hit, hit me a home run to change the shape of this game. You can't have him just having sat for the last 10 days. I mean, he needs to get out there. And I think that, people really hammered Tony La Russa for saying that basically over the last couple of years. Hey, these guys can't rust on the bench. They got to play. They got to be able to be ready when they're called upon. And I think that's a very valid point. I understand when people hear consistent lineup, they think it means the exact same 1 through 9 every single day for 162 games. That's not how it works. You are seeing some consistency today from what you saw yesterday. There's 5 or 6 guys who are in the exact same spots they were yesterday. And tomorrow might be the same case. But consistency does not mean it has to be carbon copied from 1 through 162.
Well, and it doesn't have to be basic consistency. There could be some wrinkles, as in Andrew Benintendi, if you're facing a lefty, you might be moved down to 6th. So you can come in expecting when there's a lefty on the bump, you'll bat 6th. When there's a righty, you'll bat 3rd. I don't love him batting 3rd, but if they have that consistency, maybe that's the consistency Grifol's talking about. It doesn't have to be plain cut too, like no matter what, lefty, righty, you're batting 6th. As long as there's some flexibility, it seems like these guys can have the understanding of what they're going into in a day's work. So I'm fine with the consistency so far.
I'll be not happy if it was a straight up platoon. I know that Gavin's got to get some bats, but those at bats could come also from the designated hitter spot or right field. I know that Romy and Colas are manning that already, but I think Andrew Vaughn, if we believe that he's the guy that Sean, you believe in,
oh boy,
he has to play. He has to play majority of those games.
If he plays 120 games
Nope.
and Gavin plays 45, is that not the majority?
Much more. If he's a star, he's the third pick overall.
The majority. It's just 120 is bigger than 145.
No, at least 140.
I think Herb is right. I think Herb, your stance on this is correct, but I think there's no reason to believe that it won't play out that way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
right,
I'll
also,
just
I mean, like what?
John's thing.
Vaughn plays 120 games at first base and 20 at DH. He plays 145 games.
Possible.
I mean,
that's fine.
Right.
But I want him to play more. I don't want to. That's why I said a straight DH would
if he
suck.
plays 3 of the 5 first games or 4 of the 5 first games,
he's going to play 4. From what Pedro told the reporters, it sounds like he's going to play 4 in 5 days. Listen, the guy didn't have the same smooth sailing through the last part of spring training that the rest of this lineup did. And so if you want to be cautious and say, hey, let's give you a blow. And this is the opportunity we're taking to do it. You're going to play the next 3 days. Then we got an off day. Then you're going to play some more. There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing to freak out about this. It's game 2.
Yeah, I personally did not bat an eye at it. I mean, I don't mind. I'm not worried about his playing time in 2023. He's the team's first baseman. If there's going to be postseason games, Andrew Vaughn's going to be playing at first base. The only other thing I wanted to bring up too, kind of talking about trust with Pedro Grifol. This was on Yoan trying to take 3 bases. And this is from James's Twitter. Quote, what I don't want is to not play fearless baseball. That's what I told him. Eddie Rodriguez, the new third base coach, spoke to Moncada, and he said a few things that he felt were enough keys for him to try to get to third base, and we were okay with that. We were okay with it. It's aggressive baseball, ran hard out of the box. We were all right with that. I know fundamentally people think that you can't make the first or third out at third base. Herb, I don't believe it. I believe in making good decisions and having a reason why you do it, and a couple of good reasons. So I'm okay with it. And then the question was, that read was all Moncada. Yeah, he saw the ball lodged in that right field corner, and he felt he had an opportunity to get to third. The game dictated us needing a run right there, and he ran hard all the way. It didn't work out, but so what? Just keep playing the game hard. So we talked about proving it, and Pedro Grifol kind of talked a lot about that during spring training, playing the game hard. We see some of that from Yoan Moncada.
I disagree right there. I wholeheartely disagree. It's a 1-run game. Stop at second. Let your people behind you drive you in. Like, if you're not 100% sure, or even like 75, 85% sure that you're going to make it safely at third base, don't give them a chance to do that. This is a late inning game, 1-run game. You need to get the job done. Thankfully for Yoan, it's not as magnified because you see Yasmani hit that home run later in that inning. But no, I don't think that is a good aggressive move. If you get thrown out first to third, where you think the right fielder's arm's not good enough, and they just make 2 good plays from 2 subpar outfielders or 2 subpar fielders, God bless. But Tucker's pretty damn good out there in right field.
Like I said last night, it's a thin line between, all the White Sox fans spending last year saying, why doesn't our team do what the Guardians do? Why doesn't our team do what the Royals do and take that extra base? You saw one of your guys, and maybe a guy that you thought wasn't the guy that was going to be the leader in that regard, try to do that last night. That being said, he got thrown out, and it was another out on the bases, like another thing that White Sox fans saw all too much of last year. I think it's a very thin line. Pedro's answer was exactly what I would expect from any manager to say. As I've repeated so often, a thing that I've heard from multiple managers, you do not want to tell someone to be less aggressive. You do not want to coach the aggressiveness out of a player. And I think a guy like Yoan Moncada trying to take it upon himself to try to spark his club late in the game, to try to spark that offense, I don't think it was that egregious of a mistake. I think it was amplified by the fact that the Astros made a really good play in throwing him out too. But I think that in the end might be looked at as more of a positive than it was a negative. In the moment, he's out, and so it's a negative, right? But let's talk about it again in 6 months and say, Yoan Moncada might have set a tone for the season or showed what this team was going to be like this season by being more aggressive, by trying to take the extra base, by trying to make the play that helped the Guardians run away with the AL Central last year.
Well, and 2, like, we saw Tony and Yermin Mercedes make a mistake and then kind of, I feel, handle it the wrong way in the press. Pedro in his first day, I don't think wants to lambast a guy for making a mistake either. It's a teaching moment.
Those are entirely Those are entirely different
decisions.
They're situations, though. Yeah.
But still, like, I mean, I think the last thing Pedro's going to do on day one is be like, oh, he made a boneheaded play. Like, I think that he's definitely going to be supportive in day one, and they're learning on what will be the right baseball plays, what won't be the right baseball plays. I didn't take too much away from it, but I know Herb just bringing up the cardinal rule of not making the first out at first or third, and then Pedro saying, I don't really care. I thought that was interesting to bring back just with the post game yesterday. We are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, and we got Joey in the chat saying DraftKings is giving away money by having Lynn listed at +5.5 for strikeout props. Look sharp in the World Baseball Class. Sick. I'll trust that continues. Right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, they are giving away, or they have a MLB season opener, no sweat bet. Place any MLB game and get a bonus bet back if you lose. All games through the 30th through the 2nd of April. Opt in and place any MLB bet. And if your first qualifying bet after opting in loses, we'll credit your bet back as a bonus bet up to $10. So go put $10 on Lance Lynn to strike out 6 Astros. And if he does, you win the money. And if not, you get a bonus bet back up to $10. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. And new customers, when you sign up with code CHGO, you get, when you sign up with code CHGO and bet $5, you get $200 in bonus bets instantly, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. They say don't say free bets, and I'm so used to saying free bets, so I was trying not to say free bets. So there you go. Lance Lynn, let's show the pitching graphic. Lance Lynn versus Christian Javier tonight. Lance Lynn has not been good versus the Houston Astros in the recent outings, but he hasn't played them since 2021. It's been a while since Lance Lynn has faced the Astros with his injury last year, and he did not face them when the Astros came to town back in August. Lynn last year in 121 and 2/3 innings pitched at a 3.99 ERA, allowed 119 hits, 124 strikeouts, allowed 19 walks, and had an ERA plus of 99. Christian Javier in 148 and 2/3 innings had a 2.45 ERA, 89 hits allowed, 194 struck out, and 52 walks surrendered, and an ERA plus of 152. 152 ERA plus is bigger than the guy that they threw on opening day. So is this guy better than what we just saw?
I mean, is he better than Valdez? I don't know about that, but it's just, hey, like I've been telling you for the last few days, this Astros rotation is just freaking loaded, man. I mean, this is one all-star after another, and I think the White Sox, especially at the top of the rotation with Cease and Lynn, I think they fall into a similar category. That 1-2 punch is as good as there is around, but I would not expect a high-scoring affair tonight because these are two very, very good pitchers. Christian Javier, a guy whose name not a lot of people might be talking about, but boy, he's got the numbers from last year to back that up.
And the last time Christian Javier pitched in a Major League Baseball game that mattered, he threw a combined no-hitter with the aforementioned Hector Neris and the guy who got smoked last night, Ryan Presley, which, man, he was shaking out that arm a lot last night. It worries me that he might be a little bit more injured than he was letting on. But Christian Javier, fastball that clocks in at 93, 94, but Bryce Harper was asked after that game where he thought that miles per hour was. He's like, that's got to be 97, 98. It looks deceiving. And he threw it like 75% of the time in that no-hit performance. So pinpoint accuracy on a fastball that gets up on you, that's not really fast, and then a slider that keeps you honest. And he throws a curveball and changeup very seldom. So it's going to be a tough battle for the White Sox today because he's a strikeout master. He gets people to swing and miss without premium stuff. So I hope the White Sox just take what is given to them and also be patient because he will put you on base too. He's not one of the greatest people on command and control. So be patient tonight. Set the tone. Tim Anderson, last night you saw that. He walked, started the rally. So that's the same thing I want tonight. Tim Anderson, Luis Robert, and Andrew Benintendi started off right and set the tone for the White Sox offense.
Well, we brought up the DraftKings Sportsbook read, and we had CHGO bets earlier. I have Luis Robert to have the first hit against Christian Javier tonight, and the first hit in the game. So if Tim Anderson walks and then Luis Robert comes up second, I'll be very happy. Hopefully he can knock in that first hit. He's
it's got to be first hit of anything. So it could be the fourth inning.
I mean, yeah, if it's just the first hit. So, I mean, if the Astros have the first hit, then, that bet loses. But funny enough about Luis Robert Jr., he is the only player in the White Sox lineup today that has faced Christian Javier. Christian Javier has only pitched against the White Sox once, June 19th, 2022. Last year, made a start against them. Astros won that 4-3. Mendick, Vaughn, Robert, Abreu, Pollock, Berger, McGuire, Harrison, Hazley is who fought Javier. So Christian Javier did well against the White Sox last time he faced them, but I can't take those results into, any standing because it's just not the same team. Not the same lineup. We could look at the lineup now. Tim Anderson obviously leading off, playing shortstop. Luis Robert Jr. batting second and playing center field. Andrew Benintendi batting third and in left field.
High-fiving his own name, which is always great.
Eloy Jimenez batting fourth at DH. Batting fifth, Yohan Moncada at third base. Batting sixth, Gavin Sheets at first base. Batting seventh, Yasmani Grandal at catcher. Batting eighth, Oscar Colas in right field. And batting ninth, Elvis Andrus at second base. Very excited. We already got a high-fiving Andrew Benintendi after a White Sox winner.
I like that. That's like 5 out of 6 hitters are left-handed, from Benintendi all the way down to Colas. That's awesome. I mean, 2 of them are switch hitters, but I like how he's doing these lineups. So the switch hitters are breaking apart, and if you bring a lefty in, it's going to be still tough to match up versus these White Sox. The lineup flexibility is a little bit better now that Andrew Benintendi and Oscar Colas are in the lineup. You can't be too right-handed like the White Sox have been way too far off in the recent past.
I have a completely random thought right now looking at that lineup. This has nothing to do with anything, but I saw it on Twitter earlier today, and I wanted to bring it up. White Sox fans fond of talking about how the White Sox can never find a right fielder or never find a second baseman. Maybe they have with Oscar Colas or who they got coming up through the infield prospects. But saw on Twitter earlier today, the San Francisco Giants have had a different opening day left fielder every year since Barry Bonds' last season. 2007. That's 16 years ago.
Damn.
That's insanity.
That's insane.
And they won 3 World Series in that time.
They did.
But still, my goodness. I know that was apropos of absolutely nothing, but I needed to sneak it in there somehow because I was just flabbergasted by that stat.
Well, and do you know who? I mean, they're really desperate. Do you know who they even tried in left field last year for 8 games?
Yermin Mercedes.
So desperate times in San Francisco, and they went out and got my guy Mike Conforto, who's gonna go and solve that issue, or maybe it's Jock Peterson.
Well, he's in right field, right?
Well, then is Jock in left?
Maybe he's the DH
or center. I don't know.
And also
DH.
Maybe he's just not. Maybe he just didn't play yesterday. You know what I mean? Like it was an opening day stat kind of thing, but that's incredible. It's incredible. 17 years in a row. They've had 17 different left fielders on opening day. That's incredible. It's just insane.
It's like the Browns QB jersey. Now Giants fans need to have the one where it's just crossing off the left fielder of each opening day. Let's go to the Astros lineup. We gave the White Sox lineup, and we're closing in about 10 minutes away from the White Sox taking on the Astros. Leading off for the Astros, Jeremy Pena at shortstop, batting second, Alex Bregman at third base, batting third, Yordan Alvarez in left field, batting fourth, Jose Abreu, at first base, batting fifth, Kyle Tucker in right field, batting sixth, Corey Yolks in designated hitter, batting seventh, David Hensley at second base, batting eighth, Jake Myers in center fielder, and batting ninth, Martin Maldonado, who has a career against Lance Lynn, 7 hits, 14 at-bats. Noted slugger, Martin Maldonado with a plus 1,000 OPS versus Lance Lynn.
And his KPW was Blake Sable, whatever that is, was playing left for Giants.
He was a Rule 5 pick. The White Sox could have had him. I don't know if they could have had him, but he might have went before their pick came up.
I think it might be 18 years in a row.
I wrote about him on all CHGO.
It definitely might be 18 in a row next year. But that Astros lineup, I mean, when you see Dylan Cease just go through them like hot knife through a butter, you're like, these guys ain't that good. And then you see Yordan Alvarez do what he did to Ronaldo Lopez. Like, okay, yeah, I remember that.
That ball land yet?
Oh my God. I don't know if you guys seen it, and I brought it up last night. The guy who gets smoked by the Yasmani ball, it still kills me. It's funny as hell, the home run ball. But yeah, I would not take this lineup like it's nothing. What Dylan Cease did last night was nothing short of miraculous, where he's making major league hitters at that level look ridiculous. Lance Lynn has to do the same. He doesn't have the premium stuff like Dylan does, but I think you have a point when you say that Lance Lynn is starting at a higher level than most pitchers are because of the innings he threw, the high level innings he threw in the WBC. We saw last night, Framber Valdez wasn't the same guy that he usually was last year at the end of last year. That's because he wasn't pinpoint accurate. His fastball wasn't where it needs to be. And I think Lance Lynn has gotten those jitters out. He's gotten his release point out and all the things that you're usually trying to work out in the first couple starts. And now it's just like his third or fourth start and he's rolling. And I think it'll be a tough lineup to battle through, but I think Lance Lynn has these guys, and I think he'll take something what Dylan Cease had last night and build off of that.
I'm excited to see what Lance does. And it's interesting, too, because we saw the curveball kind of take a different shape in 2022, late in the season for Lance Lynn. And the Astros really haven't seen this new tweaked curveball. The last time he threw successful curveballs against the Astros was back in 2020. Really didn't have the pitch in 2021. And I think it's going to be a big thing for him. He threw it a lot against righties last year, and seeing Bregman, who's got a 1,500 OPS against him, you got Abreu there as well. And it helped a lot getting swinging strikes against left-handers. So Yordan Alvarez, who has a 1,400 OPS against Lance Lynn, hopefully that pitch can help him. Back in 2020, he was throwing it faster. And it kind of helped get horizontal movement, but now he's kind of sitting around 83 with it, but getting a lot more horizontal movement, more vertical movement back in 2021. So maybe the new pitch helps him because he's got the stamina already. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes past 86 pitches. Just going back to the Cease thing about pulling him early, Kyle Tucker had a ball that was hit 105 off of Cease in the fifth inning. So seeing him come up in that spot again with runners on first and second, I'm not surprised that Pedro pulled him. But I think, Lance Lynn, if he's not in a bad situation where there's runners in scoring position, I think you let him go. I really think 95, 100 is probably his cap today. I wouldn't be surprised if he hit triple digits just because that World Baseball Classic really helped him hit the ground running. So I'm excited to see what Lance can do. If he can use that curveball to success, he can locate those fastballs. Hopefully we can see Lance Lynn have a good start against the Astros and maybe a deep one. All right, let's get to our pick to clicks or pick to clicks.
He's 0 for 2, Herb.
Click to pick. Mercy. Yes. We got Royal Crown Colas is my pick, or Oscar OS, capital R, lowercase a, capital C, Colas. Herb's going Andrew Benintendi, and Vinny is going with Yasmani Grandal. I guess I am 1-0 since Andrew Vaughn drove in the game-winning RBIs yesterday.
Yeah, I think we probably have to give it to you. Timmy was on base twice. Who did you have, Herb, yesterday?
0 for 4,
right?
Eloy Jimenez. 0 for 5,
Yeah,
Eloy Jimenez.
that didn't go great. So yeah, we come down to me and Sean, but Sean, you got the hit of the game there. So we'll give it to Sean for yesterday. But I'll go ahead and say Yaz does it again. A little more on base. I think I'm clicking Yaz to pick because of I think we're gonna get a walk or two tonight from Grandal.
He's gonna
we love him.
The White Sox losing because the best player is walking twice, or maybe he'll sprinkle in a hit too.
Yeah, it could be.
Herb Benintendi.
I mean, you just said it. I didn't look at any stats yet. I didn't see any, but Riz Javier, but lefty righty, and we all have lefty hitters in our click to pick. I think that he's just gonna break out. He put him in the 30 spot for a reason. I think he sees something in him, and that short right field porch seems delicious tonight from my man Andrew Benintendi.
We'll see. Robert has the most success for any of the White Sox players. He had 3 exit velocities over 100 miles per hour, but one of them was foul, one of them was caught, and the other one was a double. So we'll see what happens tonight. Again, those were the lineups. We will probably see you around 9:30 or so. Let's flash this graphic, Steven. Last year, average length of opening day games, 3:11. Just the color of your energy.
Going down.
In 2023, 2 hours and 45 minutes. So we will probably see you around, maybe 9:45 or so if we have a usual game. So make sure you join us here on the CHGO Sports YouTube channel for our post game, and make sure you check out Fubo TV as well. The White Sox are on NBC Sports Chicago tonight, and you can get a free trial over at FuboTV.com or FuboTV.com. FuboTV.com/CHGO. You can watch the White Sox on NBC Sports Chicago with Fubo TV. Use the link in the description below to sign up for 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. And there's over 1,000 hours of cloud DVR included at no extra cost. So you can watch live streaming sports and also record them. So again, go to FuboTV.com/CHGO for your free trial. That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. We will see you after the game here on the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. Go Sox.